Time on the track.
It was surreal. I didn't really want to believe it. You know, when the news came to me, it was from somebody in his family. We were in the dorm, and he told me, and I went to the phone and I dialed out to my family, and before I can even say a word on the phone, the response from the phone was, "We knew you were calling, and it is true." And what was weird is I had talked to him about 4 or 5 days before that. And about 2 days before it, I had a dream, and I had a dream that something had happened to him, and it was kind of surreal. So when I got the news, I was like in a state of shock for a couple hours, just like.
Right.
Because he had just told me that, he was like, "Man, I'm about to go do the show, bro. I'm gonna give your mama some money for you," and it just was weird. It was a weird feeling, and when I think about Slim Man, and I try not to think of him in a sad way. A lot of people, and there's a lot of pain. It's justified. A lot of people that love him, man. But I always remember his smile. Slim was a clown.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Slim played all day. You know what I mean? And that was just his personality. Even from elementary school, he was the class clown. He had a strong personality. And when he was in the room, you knew he was there. It's like his presence always commanded the attention of the room. And that's what I like to remember him by. And he always used to, he's always mess with me and be like, "Yeah, man, you trying to save these niggas." You know what I'm saying? He always used to be messing with me, just telling me all kind of crazy little stuff. But I'm always remember that, bro, because that's what I think about when I think of Slim.
Dig. This was up, man. I can do this shit all day. And you and C Murder was on the same camp before you before you went to work release, right?
Yeah, we was in Hunt together. He came in 2017, I think.
What that conversation was like, for the last conversation when you departed and you was going to work release, you was getting out, and no C was in the same situation, but it was looking more tougher for him than you. So what the last words to him was, and what he said?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember our last words. I just remember hugging him, and he was just happy for me. He was smiling like he always is. And I mentioned before, C is one of them people, if he really got love for you, he'll never want you to worry about him. So with me, he never wanted me to think of, he never wanted me to be down or sad about him. So every time we was around each other, he was either joking with me or playing or messing with me about something, because he know how I feel about him, and I always looked at his situation as a little tougher than mine, because I knew from the moment I was convicted that I actually had a release date. A long time away, albeit, but I did have a release date. But for him, it was, no, you have a life sentence. You know what I mean? So I always kind of was more empathetic towards his situation than my own. So the hardest thing I ever done was left him and went to work release. But I knew it was something that I had to do to get closer to my family. And he definitely wanted me to go, because you know what I mean? He always was like, "Man, nah, bro, he always like, man, you need to go, bro," because he always was empathetic towards my situation.
Right. Yeah.
Our conversation was just like, he was like smiling, and when he knew I was about to leave, he just hugged me.
I can see that nigga now.
He'll show them diamonds in the minute.
Yeah. I see that nigga now with them glasses on. Mm-hmm. We keep putting them glasses. Like the time when you kept saying, like, when you first got in there, man, I know this shit all a mistake, so that tomorrow they gonna figure it out. Tomorrow they gonna figure it out. Tomorrow. You ain't see 21 years later down that far. You ain't see, man, I'm about to do 21 years. You ain't know that day was gonna come, right?
Well, I would say the hope that tomorrow would be that day is what kept me going. I never really accepted that I would be doing all of this time. Like, up until the day that I got out, I always believed that I was gonna be getting out. I was gonna be getting out. So I never really accepted the time. So I don't really know, you know, and I think that was a defense mechanism for me, because I didn't want to become bitter. I knew what happened to me, and I knew how terrible that what happened to me could look from the outside looking in. And I tried not to allow myself to wallow in that, in the sorrow of the situation. So, you know, I remember praying when I first got there. I was like, man, you know, I prayed for 3 things, and one of them was that I wouldn't become black-hearted. I wouldn't become just bitter and just mad at the world, you know, because of what happened to me. Because I've seen what being bitter can do to an individual, and I never wanted to live like that.
Was it nights throughout your whole journey that you did shut down and cry and drop tears and that shit?
Nah, was weird. There were several nights I shut down. I think I cried.
Damn.
I cried like the night after my sentencing. I cried like a baby. And man, it was weird. And I cried in solitude. I cried to myself. So nobody never really saw me. But I didn't cry again until 7 or 8 years later. I was watching Akeelah and the Bee, and I don't know what it was about that little movie, about that little girl, but I broke down crying in the TV room, and I was playing it off, because dudes was like watching the TV, and I was just like looking up. You know, I'm trying to stop the tears from falling down. Yeah, so I'm like, you know, like, damn, I don't know what it was about the movie. Right. But maybe it was all of that stuff, because I've never been too emotional, right? So I guess it just built up, and something in that movie just triggered it. And and that was like 2008, 2009. I didn't cry no more until 2021, when I got on at my uncle's funeral. And it's like everything, even me being released, it's like all of it. I didn't cry the day I got released.
Right.
But at my uncle's funeral, it's like all of those years just piled up on me. And I was actually selected by the family to speak at the funeral, because everybody knew that, you know, well, they feel I'm a pretty decent speaker.
Right.
Man, I couldn't get through the first 2 sentences before I broke down like a chicken.